I still remember the sound of champagne glasses clinking while her voice cut through the hotel ballroom like a blade. "Oh, that's just my boring husband," she said with a little laugh, not even using my name. Just a wave of her manicured hand to brush me aside while she talked projections and promotion tracks with her new regional director. I stood there, holding a drink I didn't want, invisible in a room full of power suits and fake smiles, wondering when exactly I became a ghost in my own marriage. 15 years. 15 years of loyalty, of being her silent support system, and now I wasn't even worth a full sentence. I smiled like it didn't burn. But inside, something cracked, not loudly, not violently, just a clean snap that marked the end of who I had been. We drove home in silence. She was glued to her phone, typing away about some last-minute prep for Monday's pitch. She didn't notice I hadn't said a single word. She never noticed anymore. Our house felt like a showroom when we pulled into the driveway. Not a home. A museum of compromises I had made over the years. The man in the mirror looked tired, heavier than he used to be, with graying hair and the posture of someone who gave up arguing long ago. That night I didn't sleep. My body was still, but my mind was on fire. I saw flashes of who I used to be, the guy who road-tripped across states to see a band live, the one who talked about starting an outdoor travel company, the one who once felt unstoppable. And suddenly, I knew. I couldn't live another day as her afterthought. The next morning, while she rushed around with a protein shake in one hand and her laptop in the other, she casually tossed out, "I'll be late tonight." I smiled, nodded. And the moment the door closed behind her, I opened my laptop and created a new file. I called it Exit Strategy. Because this wasn't just an ending. This was a resurrection in progress. Over the next few days, I played my role so perfectly, I should have gotten an award. I cooked her favorite meals, asked about her work stress, gave her space when she wanted silence, and smiled just enough to keep her comfortable. But while she leaned deeper into her career, I was rebuilding the man she'd erased. The second I was alone in the house, I locked the door, opened that same file, and began laying out the framework. Step 1: Financial independence. I went through every joint account, every investment, every asset we owned, and separated what was legally mine. I didn't touch her money. This wasn't revenge. This was escape. I opened a separate bank account at a small institution 40 miles away, one she'd never think to check, tied to a P.O. box under my full legal name. No transfers big enough to flag. Just careful moves. Quiet, smart. The kind of thing I'd helped clients do for years. Step 2: Rebuild my identity. I made a list of everything I had abandoned: hiking, climbing, travel, even things as small as reading at night. I signed up for a gym on the other side of town. Paid in cash. No paper trail. Told the trainer I wanted to drop 30 pounds and rebuild my body from scratch. "You planning to run a marathon or escape prison?" he joked. "Both," I said, dead serious. I started slow. Painful. Embarrassing. But I kept showing up. Every rep burned like a match on dry paper, lighting up parts of me that had been asleep for years. And while my body began to change, so did my mind. I wasn't invisible. Not to me. Step 3: Complete secrecy. No one could know what I was doing, not friends, not coworkers, and especially not her. When she asked about the weight loss, I shrugged. "New office diet trend," I said. She didn't look up from her emails long enough to question it. Each night, I updated the exit strategy with timelines, goals, and contingency plans. While she built her next big pitch deck, I was laying bricks for a future she'd never see coming. I wasn't leaving with the whisper. I was preparing for a controlled detonation. Weekends became my sanctuary, while she disappeared to catch up on reports, or flew out to conferences. I disappeared into a new world. I drove 2 hours outside Seattle every Saturday to a small private airfield and took flying lessons. The instructor, an ex-Navy guy named Rick, eyed me curiously after our third session. "You don't strike me as the adventure type," he said. "Midlife crisis?" I gave him a smile. "Midlife correction." The feel of the cockpit, the roar of the propellers, the lift into open sky, it gave me something I hadn't felt in years: control. That same weekend, I signed up for rock climbing lessons. My hands blistered and tore open trying to remember the muscle memory I'd buried. But I welcomed it. I needed the pain. It meant I was alive. Meanwhile, every day she kept brushing me off, barely noticing the shift. I'd come home late, soaked in sweat, muscles burning, eyes wild, and she'd mutter something like, "Long day?" without looking up from her tablet. I'd nod and go shower, heart pounding not from cardio, but from the thrill of living a double life under her nose. By month 2, I had sold off some silent stock options, transferred enough into untraceable formats to fund 6 months abroad, and stored everything in a rented unit in Tacoma under a business alias. Passport renewed. Flight options narrowed. I didn't have a destination yet, but I was getting closer. Then, fate handed me something I never expected. I was posting on a business forum about financial modeling for travel companies, just to pass time, when I got a DM. It was Evan, my old college roommate. We hadn't spoken in over a decade, but he recognized my username. "Is this Mike V, from UW?" he asked. We met up 2 days later at a coffee shop in Bellevue. He looked like success, tailored, rested, sharp, but still had the same easy laugh. We talked for hours. When I told him what I'd been doing, really doing, he leaned in and said, "I just lost my accounting lead for a startup in Auckland. You want out? Come with me." That was the first time I allowed myself to truly grin. That night, I went home and found her at the dining table, surrounded by spreadsheets and takeout containers. "They're considering me for VP," she said without looking up, pride curling in her voice. "It's not official yet, but I'm leading the New York pitch next month." I poured us both a glass of wine, smiled, and toasted her success. "That's incredible," I said, and meant it, but not for the reason she thought. Her promotion would be announced at the same gala where I planned to vanish. The symmetry was too perfect to ignore. That's when I circled the date in my mind. The gala wouldn't just be her night. It would be my curtain call. I doubled down. My trainer pushed harder. My arms carved definition. My posture corrected itself. I was leaner, sharper, someone new. Even she started to notice. "You're looking different," she said one night, tilting her head. "Diet still working?" "Something like that," I answered. Meanwhile, I met with Evan again and signed the contract. The job was remote to start, then a full relocation in 60 days. Salary, double what I was making. Flexibility. Autonomy. Respect. We shook hands, and I wired the down payment for a cliffside cottage near Auckland. It was real now. My future had a zip code. I rented a small storage unit on the edge of town and slowly moved over things I'd need to disappear: clothing, cash, equipment, backups of every document. I even got a second phone, no name, no ties. I trained for my new life like a man preparing for a climb he couldn't afford to fall from. Then came the final touch. A week before the gala, I hired a private tech firm. I told them I needed a timed presentation, something that could activate remotely from my phone, and couldn't be stopped without shutting down the entire system. "High impact?" the tech asked. "High truth," I said. They built it in 5 days. My face. My story. My rebirth. Set to play just as she took the stage to thank her support system. She wouldn't know what hit her until the whole room was watching. And by then, I'd already be gone. 3 days before the gala, a strange calm settled over me. I wasn't nervous, not anymore. Everything was in place. The resignation letter was queued to send the moment I hit that button. My flight to New Zealand was booked, red-eye, no layovers. My bags were already in storage, set to be shipped ahead that night. The new bank accounts were secure, the apartment ready. The only thing left was the performance. That morning, she was buzzing with anticipation, already on her third call before breakfast. "I'll meet you at the venue," she said while stuffing files into her leather bag. "I need to double-check the seating charts and lighting." I nodded, smiled, kissed her on the cheek. My role, dependable, invisible, played to perfection one last time. But inside, I was vibrating with something new. Not revenge. Not anger. Freedom. At precisely 4 p.m., I started my transformation. I showered slowly, deliberately. Groomed every detail. Shaved. Styled. The cologne I wore hadn't been used in years, sharp, clean, a scent from the man I used to be. I took the tuxedo out of the dry cleaning wrap. Not a rental, custom fitted to my new form. Not the man she remembered. Not the man she dismissed. On her vanity, I left 3 white envelopes. The first contained the official separation notice, already filed with my attorney. The second, a detailed breakdown of our finances, every asset split fairly, even generously. And the third? Just a simple note. 1 sentence. Some stories end, so better ones can begin. When I arrived at the venue, the place looked like a corporate fantasy. Crystal chandeliers, golden lighting, floral centerpieces that cost more than a month's groceries. I moved through the crowd like a ghost in reverse, people recognizing me, pausing, doing double takes. I greeted them all politely, no need to explain. She spotted me across the room while surrounded by executives, her jaw tightening for just a second. "You look different," she said. "Tonight's about transformation, isn't it?" I replied. She nodded slowly, then turned away to prepare her speech. The tech specialist met my gaze from across the ballroom and gave a subtle nod. It was time. Dinner passed in a blur of speeches, fake laughter, and business cards exchanged like poker chips. I played the role she expected, charming, forgettable, present but not imposing. I knew how to smile without speaking, how to nod without listening. But I didn't hear a word they said. My eyes were fixed on the stage. My finger hovered over the app. At 8:27 p.m., the lights dimmed. The company president stood up, thanked everyone for their contributions, and began the official announcements. "And now, I'd like to invite our rising star to the stage," he said. Applause erupted. She rose in her tailored navy dress, all power and polish. She kissed my cheek, camera ready, not personal, and stepped up to the podium. "This promotion isn't just mine," she began, voice smooth and confident. "It belongs to my team, my mentors, and of course, my husband." She turned toward me and gave that same dismissive wave I'd seen 100 times before. Always dependable. Always there. That was the cue. I tapped my screen. 3 seconds later, the ballroom screen behind her flickered, glitching once, then locking in. The company logo disappeared, replaced by a black screen. 3 words faded in: "The boring husband." Gasps. Murmurs. Someone dropped their wine glass. She paused, blinking. "Excuse me." The screen cut her off. My recorded voice filled the room. Calm. Steady. Me. For 15 years, I played the role you wrote for me. I was dependable. Invisible. Tonight, I'd like to reintroduce myself. The next image appeared, a split screen. One side, a photo of me from 2 years ago, overweight, slouched, fading into the background. The other, a recent photo in my new tux, climbing harness over my shoulder, smile full of fire. Her face went pale. The crowd turned toward her, then back to me. She stepped away from the mic, eyes wide. "Michael, what is this?" she whispered. But I didn't respond. I just let the presentation run. Footage of my flying lessons, skydiving, late-night workouts, business meetings, my contract with a New Zealand firm, my new address, my name, my future. All of it. In bold, silent truth. The room fell into a heavy hush, broken only by my voice echoing from the speakers. While I was being introduced as the man who pays the bills, I was building something more. A life. A future. A self you never asked to know. The next sequence hit harder than I expected. A series of video clips, all taken over the years at corporate events, family functions, and interviews. Each one featured her introducing me with the exact same gesture, the same line. "This is just my husband." Each time, a laugh. Each time, I smiled politely. Each time, I died a little inside. I heard a few people in the crowd gasp. One woman said, "Oh my God!" under her breath. Another man muttered, "She really said that?" The footage faded into images of the cliffs outside Auckland. My new cottage. The contract signed with Evans Startup. Financial charts, stock movements, account balances. A clean exit, fully prepared. No chaos. No theft. Just truth. I was never boring. My voice continued. "You just stop looking." She stepped off the stage and moved toward me, her face flushed, eyes darting around as if to find a switch to shut it all off. "What are you doing?" she hissed. "This is my moment." "No," I said, standing without raising my voice. "This is our ending." She opened her mouth, but I raised a hand slightly, calmly. The final slide appeared. My new job title. My contact email. And a countdown clock, ticking down from 60 seconds. Underneath it, the message, effective immediately. "We can talk at home," she said, voice cracking. "Please." "There is no home," I replied. "The papers were filed this morning." She stared at me like I had just shattered glass with my bare hands. "You can't just walk away from everything. You walked away a long time ago," I said. "You just never noticed I followed." The clock reached 10 seconds. I straightened my jacket, set my wedding ring on the table, and took a deep breath. She stood frozen, surrounded by silence. The moment the screen hit 0, the ballroom doors opened behind me. My driver was waiting, and I walked out. I didn't look back. Not once. As I stepped into the night air, the sound of the crowd still faint behind me, I felt something I hadn't felt in over a decade, weightless. The car door closed behind me with a gentle click, and the driver glanced at me in the rearview mirror. "Airport?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, adjusting my cufflinks. "Let's go." As the vehicle pulled away from the hotel curb, the lights of the gala faded into the background. Whatever chaos erupted in that ballroom after I left, the stunned silence, the panicked whispers, the scramble to stop a presentation that couldn't be stopped, none of it mattered anymore. I was gone before they realized I'd left. My flight lifted off just after midnight, and by the time the Pacific stretched out beneath me, I felt like I'd already arrived. Auckland welcomed me with its jagged cliffs, its quiet coastlines, and its promise of rebirth. The cottage I moved into wasn't luxurious, but it was mine. Every decision inside it, every mug, every book, every photo, belonged to the man I had fought to become. My days filled quickly. The work with Evans' company was demanding, but I thrived. I wasn't someone's shadow here. I was a partner, a name on the door, a voice people listened to. Colleagues saw me as I was now, not who I had been. On weekends, I hiked volcanic trails, learned to sail, and reconnected with the version of myself I had silenced for so long. There were quiet moments too, evenings on the porch watching waves crash below, late-night journal entries, even a few dates. I didn't lie. I'm recently divorced. I'd say. I used to be someone else. Now I'm trying to meet the man I'd become. Some women found that honest. Some didn't know what to say. That was okay. I wasn't looking to be filled. I was finally whole. As for her, word reached me through mutual friends. The promotion had stuck, but the fallout from the gala was unavoidable. People talked. Her reputation took a hit. And though she kept her title, she could never quite erase the night I rewrote the narrative. I never responded to the messages she sent afterward. First came confusion, then anger, and finally, a carefully composed email filled with professional language and forced civility. You blindsided me. That was cruel. Unnecessary. But I knew that wasn't true. It was precise. It was necessary. And it wasn't about hurting her, it was about freeing me. I sent one reply. One line. You never noticed when I disappeared. You only noticed when the room did. After that, silence. True, complete silence. The kind that feels like peace. Our house sold fast. The profits split cleanly, no court battles, no drawn-out drama. I made the terms fair, maybe too fair, but I didn't want to drag anything behind me into this new life. The lawyers handled the rest. She signed quickly, efficiently, maybe hoping to regain some control after losing the spotlight. I let her have it. I didn't need a spotlight anymore. I had the sun. Word of what happened at the gala turned into something of an urban legend in their company. The husband who vanished. The husband who left with a show. The husband who wasn't boring after all. Occasionally, I'd hear a version of the story spun back to me through someone else. Twisted, exaggerated, misunderstood. But I never corrected them. They weren't owed the truth. The truth had already been spoken once. Publicly. Elegantly. And I didn't need to repeat it. Life in New Zealand bloomed slowly but fully. I started mentoring younger financial analysts, speaking at entrepreneur events, even got invited to consult for tourism boards. I had become someone people sought out, not because of who I was married to, but because of what I'd become. One day, I received an invitation to a financial leadership summit in Sydney. I went. Gave a keynote. Networked. Laughed. That night, at the hotel rooftop reception, I heard a voice I hadn't heard in over a year. Michael? I turned. She stood near the bar, a glass of wine in hand, her face composed but her eyes cracked open wide with shock. And I smiled, not cruelly, not coldly. Just calmly. Like a man who knew exactly who he was. She walked over slowly, like someone approaching a cliff's edge, unsure whether she'd fall or fly. Up close, she looked the same, immaculate as ever, but the expression she wore was unfamiliar. Not arrogance. Not dismissal. Just uncertainty. I didn't know you'd be here, she said, trying to sound casual, but her voice caught. Last-minute addition, I replied, sipping my drink. Your company's expanding to the Pacific Rim? Yes, she nodded, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. I'm leading the international division now. Congratulations, I said genuinely. You'll do well here. She hesitated, then asked. You seem different. Are you happy? I paused before answering. I am. I didn't say it to sting. I didn't say it to prove anything. It was just the truth. I've thought a lot about what happened, she admitted, voice lower now, almost breaking. The way things ended. My part in it. I looked at her gently. It needed to end, I said. We weren't living. We were just performing. Her professional mask slipped for a moment. There it was, regret. Real. Raw. I didn't see you, she whispered. Not for years. I didn't let myself be seen, I replied. That's on me. For a long second, neither of us said anything. We weren't enemies. We weren't lovers. Just two people standing in the quiet space where something used to be. She opened her mouth again, but just then a colleague of mine tapped my shoulder. "Hey Mike, they need you for the investor Q&A." I nodded, then turned back to her. "Take care of yourself," I said. "You're still sharp. Still unstoppable." She nodded, lips pressed together, as if trying to hold in something she couldn't say. I walked away without looking back. Not because I was angry, but because I no longer needed to look for closure in her eyes. I had already found it in my own. Later that night, sitting alone on the balcony of my hotel, I looked out over the glowing lights of Sydney and felt a quiet satisfaction. I hadn't just escaped a life where I was forgotten. I'd built one impossible to ignore. Some exits are loud. Some are silent. This one was deliberate. If you felt it too, like, subscribe, and drop a comment. And tell me, what kind of story should we blow open next?